Casey Peterson, how are you, man?
Good, Lee Wilson. How are you, buddy?
I am good. So Casey and Lee from Teton Medicare, we're excited to do another episode or session or whatever the heck you want to call this podcast to talk about all things Medicare, insurance, ways we help people, kind of what we do and how we do it.
Yeah.
So
let's get into it.
let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, I got a question for you to start off.
Bring it.
Talk about Medicare scam calls. You and I have both been doing this 14, 15 years. Would you say that the number of times we get called on a weekly or daily basis with people saying, hey, I get 4 or 5 calls a day, has that gone up? Have you gotten more of those calls or less calls the last few years?
It's an increase for sure. It's been bad for years, but the last couple of years, it's people saying nonstop. They're getting phone calls from people saying they're from Medicare, some, saying, hey, I'm just soliciting, whatever else the case might be. But yeah, it's constant.
Yeah.
People getting calls, texts, Facebook messages, and mailers that look very official now. The last couple of years, I'll give them credit. Unfortunately, they've gotten crafty with the advertisements they're sending out, making it look like, hey, this is from Medicare. This is from the state of Idaho. And always down in the bottom, small print, this is an advertisement. There's no affiliation with government, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it's so constant.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that I think fall for it. So that's one big message that we scream from the rooftops. Work with local brokers. We're obviously biased to ourselves at Teton Medicare, but hey, if you work with another local broker, wherever you are in Idaho or elsewhere, that is important because there needs to be some accountability, right? If you talk to some telemarketer in Florida or somewhere else, chances are you're never going to talk to that person again. They want to sell you a policy, whether it's right for you or not, and then you're never going to talk to them again.
Yeah.
Where with a local broker like us, it's going to be, hey, let's take care of you now, but we want this to be a 10, 15, 20-year relationship. So there's some accountability. You can walk into our office and say, hey, this isn't working or what's going on. So yeah, I'm obviously pretty biased, but man, working with local brokers, you can trust, you can see face-to-face, you can, hold them accountable. That's a big deal. So avoid the scams, avoid that someone calls and tells you they're from Medicare. They are lying to you. Medicare does not do outbound calls. Social Security does not do outbound calls.
Medicare never sends anybody to your home.
Correct.
I did an interview on a TV station a few weeks ago, and that was one of the questions about scams. And if you go to the Medicare.gov website, it'll tell you Medicare will never send anybody to your home.
Yep.
They'll never call you and ask you for your Medicare number. That is ridiculous. They have it. I had a client drive over from Montana a few weeks ago, and he got to our office about 10:30 in the morning, if I remember right. But it was before lunch. And he said, you got to come out and look at my phone. He brought his phone out of his car, and he said, look at how many calls I've had since 8 o'clock this morning. And it was 4 or 5 scam calls. He's like, I talked to every single one of them because we were driving over the pass. And he's like, and they were all calls about Medicare saying they were going to help me out with my plan.
Yep.
And it was just that morning. He's like, this is every day, all day. And it's been that way for years. A number of years ago, there was a former football star that got hired by a national company to do some really misleading, I'll say it, fraudulent misleading. They were just flat out lies a lot of times and misleading. But anyway, and it seems like to me when that started, when those ads kicked off is when it got worse. It's gotten worse. There's almost like this confidence that these companies have. And some of them are inside the United States. Some of them are calling you from outside the United States. But they've gotten very crafty. They'll use a local phone number.
Right.
So one of the towns in our area is called Pocatello. And you'll get calls from a number that looks like it's from Pocatello. It's not. It could be from New York. It could be from Bangladesh.
Totally.
So avoid those calls. The best advice we can give you is tell them to not call you anymore, take you off your call list, and hang up the phone. And then call us.
Yep.
And we'll answer questions. How many times have you gotten a call like this? It says, hey, Lee, I got a call this morning, and they said they can give me more cash back. They can give me some money back on my Medicare.
Right.
You get those calls?
Absolutely. And I tell people again, don't chase the shiny object, right? They can sell you on one small aspect of a plan and act like it is everything else is just as good or better, but this is really one big thing. And then after the fact, those are the calls that I just frustrate me when a client calls and says, hey, I changed my plan because of someone said this and this would be better. And now that I've tried to use my plan, now my Eliquis isn't covered. or now my doctor's not in the network, or now whatever else, I can't get a hold of anyone, right? Like, don't chase the shiny object. Stick with the overall plan. And again, a local broker, going back to that again, we can help you say, here's all the aspects of the plan that really are going to affect you. Let's look at the whole picture, not just one aspect that sounds really cool. We want you to be protected when you need a knee replacement, or if you have a cancer diagnosis, or you need some expensive medications. Those are all critical.
Or your care gets turned down.
Right.
We can help you walk through that process of saying, okay, you got turned down for this. Let's go and appeal that. Let's go and try to fix that. Let's find out why it got turned down. Let's go back to the cash back, because I think that's part of the scam. That's probably one of the leading scams that are out there. They'll get a letter in the mail. You'll get a phone call that says, hey, we can give you cash back on your Medicare. Let's explain what that means. There are specific plans for people who are full eligible for Medicare, full eligible for Medicaid at the highest level. They usually have to meet some sort of an illness, definitely an income restriction. They have to have limited income, but definitely have to have an illness in most states. And they will sometimes give you cash back in the form of, you're not getting a check, you're not getting cash in your hand. They're going to pay for a portion of your Medicare premium. They're going to give you extra benefits like groceries, or help pay for certain things. In parts of the United States, they'll pay for some of your utilities, right? But it's specific to where you live, specific to the county, the zip code you live in, specific to your individual situation of your income, your assets. It's a very small population, but they're using those plans that do exist, and they're sending them out in a broad net to everybody, trying to get you to pick up the phone and make a phone call. Most people don't qualify for it.
Correct.
Yeah, so be careful. Those scams are everywhere. Hang up the phone, tell them not to call you anymore, and then call us and run it past us. Do not give out your Medicare number over the phone.
Amen.
Do not give your Social Security number out over the phone. I can't think of a scenario that makes sense.
Nothing good will come from that.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right.
For sure.
Let's talk about who's Teton Medicare. What is our values? Who are we?
So Teton Medicare was started 7 years ago. So personally, I've been doing, we've both been doing health insurance and Medicare insurance for 14, 15 years, somewhere in that ballpark. We both came from backgrounds of working for a specific company as a rep for that company. And then both went independent, became independent brokers. But Teton Medicare was started about 7 years ago. From then, we have grown quite a bit as far as how many agents we have, the territories we cover, the plans we offer, what kinds of insurance we can help people with. But it's been really fun to grow a company and a team in Teton Medicare where we just want to serve and help people. And a lot of people are probably going to say that, and yeah, that sounds cute. But what's nice about insurance is you can run a business model doing just that.
Yeah.
You don't have to push policies or stuff that people don't need or won't benefit from. I mean, Medicare, we're known for Medicare for sure, but the government requires people to have some kind of coverage when it comes to Medicare. So there's no pressure. There's no salesy stuff going on. It's just, let's just educate you to the best we possibly can. We offer all these different companies, plans. Let's compare them and see what makes sense for you based on your drugs, based on your situation and what you need. So that's, I think, one of our big values is just caring for people and wanting to make you more educated so you don't fall into the traps of the scams and the misleading nonsense. But we want you to be a happy client so that you stay with us for life. And the best way to do that is to just take care of you, make sure you're on the right plan every year as plans change, review with you, be available to you as concerns come up or as your circumstances change or whatever else. So it's been really nice to just have that be our focus, just care for people. And that's why, frankly, we get a lot of referrals, because people come and say, man, I learned more in 20 minutes sitting with you than, 15 hours watching YouTube videos and reading the Medicare New Handbook and this and that. And you made me feel so confident in the decisions that I'm making when it comes to my health insurance. And if we can do that, then naturally people want to send their friends and family to us as well. So it's a great way that we've been able to grow our business, caring for people, taking care of people. We're also very picky with who we bring onto our team. So we've had a handful of agents reach out to us, say, hey, I'd like to get started in Medicare. Hey, I've heard good things about you guys. And we're open to bringing on awesome people.
Yeah.
But we've been pretty picky.
Let's tell them about the process. I think a little bit of insight, because that's kind of what we're doing, is kind of giving insight into who we are and what we do. We have a process of interview, and I love it. If we have a candidate that comes forward and we have a first step with our executive assistant and administrative assistants, they review those applicants, and if they make sense, they might do a quick interview with them. Then they set up an initial interview with you and I together, maybe over the phone or in person. If we like them and there's a next step, we feel like they could be a good fit, then our whole team interviews that person without us there. So our 7 team members, without Lee and Casey in the room, interview that new candidate. If after that they think it's a good idea, then we meet with them another time. So there's 3 or 4 or 5 steps in our interview process, and it doesn't matter what position that's for. Now, at some point, our company is going to get bigger than 10 or 15, 20 people, and that may not make sense. But for now, we've been very selective who we have, and I think what matters to the people at home is that when you call, you're going to deal with one of 10 different people. You might deal with an executive assistant. You might deal with an administrative assistant. You might deal with one of the agents. You might deal with Lee or I. But every single one of those people has been vetted, including Lee and I. There's nobody in our organization that you couldn't talk to that can't help you. It's wonderful. For 7 agents, we have 3 assistants. And those 3 assistants doing all kinds of things. I had a lady today call me. They're moving from Surprise, Arizona to Jefferson County. And they have a friend who has a cousin who I'm their agent. And because of the experience they've had inside of our company, this friend's cousin's friend, they referred them to us in the move. And they're coming to us now that they're in our area. Now, we have 9 states that we're licensed and we sell in, but because of that relationship, because of the good experience that person even had in a completely another state, they felt comfortable to send their friends and family to us. And I take a lot of pride in that. Makes me really happy that we have that kind of organization.
Yeah, we spend a significant amount of money on marketing, trying to get our name out there and whatnot.
Yeah.
But month after month after month, we look at it, and the number one source of new business, new clients coming to us, are referrals.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot, because if you're local in Eastern Idaho, you see our commercials probably regularly. We're not afraid of marketing, but what makes a big difference, I think, for people is knowing, hey, my friend or family, my sister, my cousin, my neighbor went there, and they came out of there with confidence, with an awesome plan that they're comfortable with, and it's just natural for people to say, hey, go work with Lee and Casey's team.
Yeah.
So it's been fun.
Yeah, it has been fun. Okay. Talk about the process, because I think we're kind of in that vein of working with the broker. Well, actually, I'll take this one.
Sure.
Why would you work with a broker? So let's go back to the scam conversation. I think they go together. If you work with somebody and the only product they sell, let's just make up a company. Let's call it Johnson Insurance. And they have a Medicare plan. And they only represent Johnson Insurance. Guess what plan they're going to tell you is the best plan? If you call directly to an insurance company, it doesn't matter what company. There's good people in insurance companies. There's good agents that work directly for an insurance company, but they can only represent one plan. If you answer one of those phone calls or one of those TV ads and call to one of those national organizations, they're only going to sell you 1 or 2 or maybe 3 companies, because they can only contract with national organizations. They cannot contract with the companies that are in your backyard. They may be based out of Idaho or Montana or Wyoming or Utah. They can't offer you all the plans. As a broker, one of the things I think sets us apart is we can represent any company we want to. Any company that will give a contract to an insurance agency, we can get. And for the most part, we have most of them. We are selective in who we contract with. We don't have them all. And the reason we don't have some is on purpose. Back in the day when I first started my insurance business, people wanted a policy for their dental, their vision, and their hearing. And I won't say the name of the company. So I went out and got it. And I only had it like 3 or 4 months. It was horrible. I had clients calling me all the time for it because they advertised like crazy. And I finally stopped offering it. And people call me and say, hey, can you give me XYZ company? And I said, no. And they said, well, why not? They've got these great policies. I said, because it's not good for you. And as a broker, we get to decide, hey, these are the good companies. If a new one comes up, we'll go get the contract. We're not afraid. We can get a contract easily. But when you work with a broker, that broker can carry any plan they want to from any company they want to. And that's what we do. That's the difference between a broker and an independent agent who only represents one company or maybe two, or somebody who does it on the side. That's the other thing we run into.
Yeah.
People who do not specialize in health life insurance.
Yeah. So we were both, as I alluded to earlier, we were both agents at one point for specific companies. At that point, we could only offer that one company for me and that one company for you. But now, and part of the reason we both went independent was because we wanted to offer, we saw that that's not a one-size-fits-all solution that works.
No.
We want to be able to be unbiased and say, here's all the options. Frankly, I tell clients all the time, I don't care which policy you're on. I want you to be on the right policy for you, right? Because again, going back to, I want happy clients that want to stay with me for 10 or 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
Not a quick sale and then I never see you again. Like I want this to be an ongoing relationship. So to be unbiased makes a big, big difference. And again, we can just know we're just taking care of people. Whether it's this plan 100%. Or that plan or this company or that company, okay. If that's what works for you, fantastic. We've got your back. We'll help you through the process. We'll look up your drugs. We'll look up your doctors. We'll make it make sense and make you confident in what you're doing. And it's nice and easy. So Casey, talk to people or explain to me, because a very common question we get is, what do you guys charge?
Yeah. 1 million. No, I'm just kidding. So one of the benefits of working with a broker is the cost to you is no different. Whether you go with XYZ company or ABC company, the commission to us is the same and the cost to you is no different than if you call the company directly. And we really like that. The way that we get paid is a small commission per member per month in most cases once you enroll. And that payment comes from the insurance company. It does not come out of your pocket. It comes from the insurance company. And so I had somebody in my office, I can't remember, a few weeks ago. We spent a lot of time. I'd met them a few months into last year, got diagnosed with cancer, came back, the cancer's come back. She's not in a good place. And it's terminal, and it's really sad. And he's got Medicare benefits, but they're both covered by an employer plan. It's a long, complicated story. And we spent 2.5 hours in my office talking about options and looking up options and researching things, and didn't enroll them in a plan. It wasn't time. They thought they were going to enroll in a plan, but they came in and at the end I said, you guys, it's too early. You need to keep your employer-sponsored plan, and here's the reasons. Got up to leave. She gave me a big hug. She was crying. I was a little teary-eyed, I'll be honest. He was upset, not upset at me, but just, it was emotional. And they said, okay, how much do we owe you? And I said, nothing. And I wasn't doing it to brag. That's what comes out of me because that's the truth. And she said, no, we've been in here for 2.5 hours and you've been here before. And I said, no, that's not how it works. Our services are no cost to you out of your pocket. And the premium that you pay, the cost you pay is no different by coming to us. There's a few benefits. One, that breadth of knowledge, that 15 years, our agents that have done this for a decade, some of them, that knowledge is at no cost to you. When it's time to enroll you, that's how we get paid. We make a living. We own a business to make money and to be in business and be profitable. That's how we get paid. But I think it's a lot less if people knew exactly how much it was. And there's so many different policies, so many different ways we get paid. But if they knew how little it was per member per month, they'd be surprised. It's in how many people can we help? And that's why our goal is to help as many people as we can, because that's how you run a profitable business. Keep them happy.
Keep them happy. And it's a long-term play as far as growing the business. Again, the best way for us to make a lot of money as a business is to have clients on the books for years and years and years, and to get all those friends and family referred to us. And that's how we grow. This is not a quick sale. We like selling a car or a house. We make a bunch of money. We take care of people, and therefore we get rewarded for taking care of people. And it's, to your point, doesn't cost you a penny. So go figure this out on your own.
Yeah.
Spend hours and hours looking up this stuff and trying to figure it out. Call that insurance company directly, as you said. It's going to cost you the exact same thing either way. Or you can come use our expertise, knowing the ins and outs of the experience other clients have had with these different companies, what's working. We want you to be with stable, strong companies that have proven to us that we can trust them. And we have that insight and expertise that the guy on YouTube that lives in Texas that has no idea what the plans in Idaho or Montana or Wyoming look like, or whatever the case might be, like, that's just not the way to go.
Well, and there's some really good national companies in our area that we don't sell. We have their contracts, and when I say we don't sell, it's very rare. Not because they're a bad company, They're a great company, and they have huge marketing budgets. They're all over the TV, all over cable news. They're everywhere. But in our area, they're not a good fit. They're not competitive. But if you didn't know that and you called them, they're definitely going to present it as if it's the best option.
Absolutely.
And it isn't. I mean, we can say that because we help thousands of people a year, thousands of people a year pick their plan. So yeah, using a broker, no cost to you. Let us guide you. Let us take that fear out. And then if something does come up, you got a person to call.
Absolutely.
The same person to deal with. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about AEP. People may not know this, but in our business, we start preparing for the next enrollment period right now. Matter of fact, a few weeks ago, the beginning of this month.
We're in the beginning of June,
Yeah.
just for the record.
So the annual enrollment period, or AEP, it's kind of well known in the industry. Annual enrollment period is the Medicare enrollment period. For when you're on a Medicare plan, that's when you get to make choices. It's June. Today's the 11th, right? Or 12th of June.
Yep.
We're already preparing. We're already studying. I was on a Zoom call this morning for 2 hours learning about the prescription drug coverage for next year. That preparation starts now for us. But for the member, when does that start and what does that look like?
So realistically, if you've got a Medicare plan, a drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan specifically, you're going to get an annual notice of change, usually about the end of September, first few days of October, telling you what the updates are. Now, again, to Casey's point, we've already been made aware of those changes, been studying up on those. There's national certifications we have to do every year. Each carrier or insurance company has their own certifications that we do. So we do a lot of continuing education and training every year in preparation for AEP. So we know exactly what these plans look like and how they're going to help our clients. So that being said, as far as a member of a Medicare Advantage plan, you start to see that the increased advertising about September, October. But as far as understanding what your plan is, you get that annual notice of change beginning of October or so. And then you've got October 1st through December 7th to review the changes and make a change if you need to. So technically speaking, October 1st through the 14th, it's actually called pre-enrollment. So that's when we as agents and brokers can talk to our clients as far as here's the things you need to know, here's the updates, here's what's changing, let's look up your drugs and see how they're covered now and those types of things. And then October 15th through December 7th is when we can actually make changes, when we can actually submit enrollments and submit paperwork one way or another to the different insurance companies to say, hey, Joe Smith wants this for 2025 or whatever the case might be. So during that time, technically, you can make as many changes as you want. It's just a last application enrollment that's submitted as of December 7th. That's what will be in effect as of the new year, January 1st.
Goes into effect January 1st. Sorry to keep hounding on this, but let's go back to the scam calls because those definitely get elevated. There's more of those going on October through the middle of December.
Yep.
If you take a phone call and you get interviewed by that person, is the way I'll put it, and that person on the phone call asks you a bunch of questions, I cannot tell you how many times people have called me back and said, I didn't enroll in anything, but I got changed. My plans changed. What happened? Those scam calls are exactly that. Scam calls many times. And they will move you to a plan without your permission. It's happened. I can't even keep track of how many times it's happened. So those number of calls are going to go up even more October through the middle of December. So be very careful. Be vigilant anyway, but definitely even more so during that period of time.
It's scary how little information they need to be able to move you to a different plan. Again, a very frustrating call that we get is, hey, somehow I got a new insurance card from XYZ company.
Yeah.
I have no idea where this came from. I didn't enroll in this. Or why isn't my whatever company still in effect? Like, how did I get changed? Well, did you talk to someone on the phone? Well, yeah, but I only gave them a little bit of information before I just had this weird feeling and then hung up on them. Well, if you gave them any information, there can be a problem with that. So you got to be careful.
So let's say they make a wrong choice October 15th through December 7th. They get put on the wrong plan. Just so you know, there's another enrollment period that Medicare has. We're not allowed to advertise for it. We're not allowed to put it out in the public knowledge, but it's been there for a number of years. January 1st through March 31st, you can also make a change to your Medicare Advantage plan.
Correct.
One time, and you can make a change to go back to original Medicare and apply for a prescription drug plan, or you can switch to another Medicare Advantage plan. So hope is not lost. So if something happens and you get changed on a different plan than you wanted to, you can still give us a call and we can help you January 1st through March 31st.
It's a great get out of jail free card if someone changed to a plan or got changed without them knowing.
Yeah.
Right. And then realize, oh, shoot, that was probably a mistake. okay, we can fix that mistake in the first 3 months of the new year. So that's pretty nice. Or if someone stays on a plan and assumes all is well, there's nothing changing, and then you go to use that plan in the first quarter of the new year and realize, oh, wait, now my drug isn't covered. I didn't really research this or talk to a broker. What do I do now, right? So we've got some flexibility with that to correct a mistake or still make a change. So I do love that Medicare here a few years ago implemented that. So one way or another, if a change is needed, you're not stuck. We can still help and adapt if we need to in that first quarter.
So Lee, we've been talking about Medicare and really that's been our bread and butter for 14, 15 years, but I think a lot of people don't know because maybe they see our name, Teton Medicare, that there's a lot of other options that we can help them with. And one of the things that I think is really important for people to understand is what are some of the holes that Medicare itself has, and maybe even a Medicare Advantage or a Medicare supplement or prescription drug coverage. What are some of the holes that Medicare has in their system and in their coverage, and how do we fill those holes?
So original Medicare, first of all, let's break that down a little bit. So the couple large gaps when it comes to original Medicare, and by that I mean that your red, white, and blue A and B card that you get from Medicare specifically. With that, first and foremost, there's no maximum out of pocket. So if you've had employer coverage or an individual health insurance plan, those have a maximum out of pocket, which protects you from catastrophic risk or loss, right? So if you have a major diagnosis and you only have Medicare A and B, well, and you're doing ongoing treatments that are thousands and thousands of dollars a month, and you're paying, say, 20% for most of that, that goes on forever and ever. There's no cap on that, which is a serious problem and a serious risk. So that's something that we address with people all the time. A second large gap in coverage is prescription drug coverage. A lot of people don't realize this, but original Medicare A and B does not include prescription drugs. So if you're taking Eliquis or lisinopril or metformin or levothyroxine like everybody else, Medicare does not cover those types of things if you're filling those at a pharmacy. And the third one that we get asked a lot about are things like dental and vision and hearing. Original Medicare does not cover those. Maybe if it's an accident on the vision, I always clarify if it's overall health of your eye, cataract surgery, glaucoma, then yes, it's medical, but routine vision is not covered by Medicare. So those are areas that we help people say, okay, well, what do you need for prescription drug coverage? 'Cause it's different for everybody. It's, again, not a one size fits all. What are your dental and vision needs? And let's break that down and look at that in a holistic approach and see how we can make your Medicare coverage way better than just original Medicare.
Well, and people, I run into this all the time. They've been covered by an employer-sponsored plan, or they've even had Obamacare. They think, oh, I'm going to go on Medicare, and I'm not going to be able to afford it. I'm going to have to keep working the rest of my life, and it's just not true. Most people find that when they leave their employer plan, or definitely when they leave Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, they're going to save money. They're going to have no deductible or a very little deductible for their prescriptions. They're going to have no medical deductible. They're going to have $1 coverage. They're going to get some dental and some help with eyeglasses and hearing aids. There's options out there that are very, very cost effective. And then if there are some areas they need added help, we can sell them those policies for dollars a day. If I could get a message out to people other than, be careful of those scam calls, the next one is don't be so scared when you go on Medicare. You and I do this for a living, so we've got a comfort level that not everybody has.
Sure.
But if I could fast forward years, it's closer for me than it is for you, but if I could fast forward years and just get health insurance at this point that I could get on Medicare, I'd save, and I'm not exaggerating here, I'd save thousands of dollars a month.
Absolutely.
It is insane how much money you can save by going on a Medicare plan. And so the days of people saying, well, I'm going to go on Medicare and I'm going to go bankrupt if I have cancer. That's not true. That is not true. If you have a Medicare plan to go with your Medicare, that is not true. If you're on original Medicare only,
that's a problem.
That's a big problem. So one of the things I think would be timely to talk about is cancer policy. So, we all know that cancer is something that touches all of our lives. We all have somebody we know or ourselves have been touched by cancer. I have a grandmother who passed away from breast cancer at 69 years old. I have family members with cancer. It's touched our lives. I've got some friends now that are dealing with cancer. We help a local oncology center. We very rarely go through a week, maybe even a few days, without getting a call from one of our clients or one of our partners with somebody who has cancer. Would you agree with that?
More and more, sadly.
Yeah.
Every week, multiple clients or friends and family of clients that call and say, hey, I was just diagnosed with such and such cancer. what do I do? What are my coverages going to look like? What is this going to cost me? And we've talked a lot about that as an agency the last few months because we're seeing such a large uptick in those calls, unfortunately. And depending on the Medicare plan, some are going to give you very, very good medical coverage. So you have very little risk financially for the medical treatment specifically.
Yeah.
And even with some of the other plans, whether you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you've got a max amount of pocket you need to reach, or you're on Affordable Care Act or even group coverage, and you've got a few $1,000s that you are responsible for paying, a cancer plan that we offer for, like you said, $1 a day or so can give you so much more protection. A fascinating statistic that we saw recently is that about 50% of costs associated with cancer treatment are non-medical. So yes, you've got these expensive chemotherapy treatments. Yes, you might be taking these giant chemo pills at home that you're getting from your pharmacy, whatever the case might be. But nationally, that's only about 50% of the costs that are incurred.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you've got travel. If you're going down, we're here in Eastern Idaho. If you went down, and actually one of our agents just this week shared an example of one of his clients having to go down to Salt Lake. And because of his diagnosis, he could not be more than 15 minutes away from this specific treatment center for a month. So to live in a hotel and to be eating out regularly and whatnot for that month gets real expensive real quick.
Yeah.
Right? To have maybe kids come from other states or whatnot to come stay with you, or lost wages, right? If you're working 30, 40, 50 years old and you're taking off weeks and weeks or months at a time, does that affect you and your family and your ability to pay the bills?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So these cancer plans, I'm a huge fan. I firmly believe that everyone needs a cancer policy.
Regardless of age.
Regardless of age. Everyone. This is not Medicare specific. And to be clear, we are not Medicare specific. We have built our business focusing a lot on Medicare. But more and more the last few years, we do a lot more than Medicare for all ages. But this is a point of passion for us lately because we're just, again, seeing it so much. But the way these cancer plans work, completely separate from a Medicare plan or your Affordable Care Act or even your group plan, completely separate. And almost anyone qualifies as long as you haven't had a cancer diagnosis in the previous few years. But what happens is if you choose, let's say, a $20,000 benefit, right? So maybe $30, $40 a month for something like that, depending on your age. But heaven forbid you're diagnosed with an internal cancer, that insurance policy pays you $20,000 in one lump sum.
Yeah.
To use however the heck you need to. It's not dependent upon which doctors you go to or if you decide treatment and what treatment. It does not matter. You could say, I'm not going to do treatment.
Yep.
I'm going to take my family to Hawaii for a week and have that be my legacy that I leave behind, right? But you can certainly use that to help cover lost wages. You can use that to pay travel or hotel or
wheelchair ramp or
whatever you need. And so to see face-to-face the clients that we see on a regular basis, and to see the despair and the concern and the stress that they're dealing with, to be able to say, man, for just $1 or so a day, to not have that financial stress at all is so worth it. Absolutely worth it. To know, yes, you still have to go through treatments or figure some things out, but to take away that financial burden and stress when you're dealing with so much already is absolutely worth it. So again, I firmly believe that everyone should have a cancer policy for them or their family.
Well, it's at its core what we do. We represent plans to help with the unknown. That's what we do for a living. We help protect you for things that you can't prepare for.
Absolutely.
We have people that are very, very wealthy with have cancer policies. We have people that could completely fund their cancer treatments and the extra unknowns out of their own pocket. But for a few dollars a day, have that peace of mind. They don't have to worry about it. I have clients right now going through pretty severe treatment and they are struggling, but we've had conversations and we don't have to worry about that part of their treatment. They have to worry about those financial stresses. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of cancer policies. Let's talk about some other things. I think it kind of leads into this. We've heard the term final expense.
Yeah.
But I think it's more so a term that we're familiar with because we're in the business. Final expense is something, we'll call it what it is. If you're if you have a diagnosis or you've passed away or something's happening that you're going to die or you've died. A final expense plan is a life insurance policy that helps cover those costs. They are what we call simplified issues. So typically there are fewer questions. Typically you do not have to have a medical examination. You don't have to go and give blood. You don't have to go in and have a nurse come to your home. They're simplified issue. Usually we're the ones asking the questions and filling out the forms with you. They're simple. They're quick. We can usually do one in a matter of half an hour, 20 minutes, sometimes over the phone, sometimes in person. And they are lump sum payments, going back to that term. I love that term, that you get to use how you want. You want to identify a beneficiary to be your spouse or your estate or your children or your grandchildren. One of our agents, I helped him with a policy quote for a guy that was in his 80s. And he had 2 grandkids and 2 great-grandkids, and he wanted to leave them each some money. And so those are the kind of policies we can help them with. We have people that are in their 20s and 30s that are actively working who have these type of policies just in case. Final expense plans, think of them as life insurance for the unknown with very simple questions. And they're typically not terribly expensive either.
Yeah, and they're a whole life policy. That's what they are. So by that term means that is guaranteed for life.
Yeah.
And that benefit will be there when you pass. Not if, but when you pass. So with that, your premium is locked in. It's not going to increase over time, and your benefit does not decrease over time. There are some life insurance policies that do just that. Yep. We don't deal with those types of policies for this final expense purpose. So it's a whole life policy. Your rate is locked in and your benefit is locked in as well. Very popular policy for a lot of our clients that are near or in retirement years for sure. But again, I want to drive this point home. We do a lot more than Medicare.
Yeah.
So our clientele is not primarily just, 65 plus. We have a lot of younger families, individuals still working, whatever the case might be, that we help with health insurance, we help with life insurance. But what's great about life insurance is, yes, we've got these whole life final expense, but depending on exactly what people are needing, again, we can customize the heck out of life insurance. Yeah. Regardless of what you're needing, how much you're needing. Here's my situation. I want to leave it to my kids and grandkids, or I want to fund this big thing over here, or I want to prepare and save money on taxes. Whatever the case might be, we simply sit down with people our first appointment or two and just ask questions. What's important to you? How much do you need, and what do you need it for? What is your legacy going to be? What concerns you? And let's build a strategy or multiple strategies to use life insurance to help protect you and your loved ones in the way that you want to. So whether it's a whole life final expense policy, whether it's a term, it's regardless of what it is, you're near retirement, you're nowhere near retirement, still want to protect your family, we can help shop around and educate you as to how those plans work. And again, it's been nice as we're offering more and more of those types of services and products for people, because we're helping more people solve more problems.
Even people who are currently diagnosed with an illness. We have life insurance products for people who are currently sick.
True.
There's lots of options. A couple of things I want to hit on of other products that we offer. Dental, vision, hearing. So we have people that have been employed for a big employer for years, and they've had a vision benefit and a dental benefit and a hearing aid benefit. We offer those plans. We have plans for the cancers we've discussed. We've had life insurance. We have heart attack and stroke. We have hospital indemnity plans, which are going to help people with the cost for their hospital stays or their skilled nursing facility, rehab. I mean, there's a whole litany. Is that a word?
Sure, let's go with that.
Let's go with that. There's a whole list. How about we go with that of products we can offer at just about any age. Families, small employer group plans. It is no longer just Medicare that we help with. And it's been that way for a while, but we want to get the word out.
Absolutely. Yep.
Wonderful.
Agreed.
Okay.
All right. So let's move into another segment of this podcast and just answer specific questions that people give us on a regular basis, because that's people listening to this or watching this are going to want to know, well, what about this? So let's touch on some of those very specific questions. So I'll ask you the first one. Does Medicare cover dental?
Very, very minimal. So if you have some sort of I'll use this example without getting too far into the weeds. Let's say you have jaw cancer and you have to have some reconstruction of your jaw. There might be some of that Medicare will cover a dentist or a dental specialist for that. But routine dental work, preventative dental, no. Medicare itself does not cover that. There are plans, Medicare Advantage plans or dental vision hearing plans you can buy separate from Medicare to fill in that gap. But Medicare itself, in most cases, and I mean the vast majority of cases, will not cover dental.
Yep, very true. But we've got options.
We've got options.
Again, call us. So next question I'll take is, does Medicare cover hearing aids? And again, the answer is no. So people assume they will, but again, that's more of a ongoing issue rather than an accident or an illness that affects your hearing. But as people are aging and losing their hearing, no, Medicare by itself does not cover that. So again, a lot of the plans that we represent and help people navigate offer additional benefits like the dental you just mentioned, as well as the hearing aids as well. And that will vary from company to company and plan to plan. So again, it's not every plan covers it in this way. It will depend by quite a bit. And we've got some clients that say, hey, I've got, say, a Medicare Advantage plan that gives me some dental and some hearing and some vision, but it's not enough. I would like more. That stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
Right?
What a pair of hearing aids you hear? I know a number, but what is the number you hear? A cost of hearing aids
For a pair, probably $8,000 to $10,000
Yeah.
on a regular basis.
On the upside, you can go to big chain stores,
Sure.
and buy them, and some of those are great options. But you're thousands of dollars at least
For sure.
for an okay set of hearing aids.
Right.
You get into very specific ones that are going to be Bluetooth capable and have lots of different channels and lots of range. You're thousands and thousands of dollars
for sure. And Medicare does jack diddly squat
right
for that. So you need to have additional coverage for that if you want it.
And we have plans for people who are not on Medicare, by the way. I have a really good friend who's in his late 30s, early 40s, and he has terrible hearing loss. He worked at a tire store for about 10 years, and he has terrible hearing loss. He needs hearing aids, and we can sell plans that would help him with those hearing aids.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let me ask you another one. Can I get Medicare coverage if I'm under 65 and have a disability? This is a good one.
That is such a great question, and the answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. People call me up and say, well, I'm not 65 yet. What am I going to do? But I've got Medicare. You are eligible. So I have clients that are in their 30s who are on Social Security disability for 2 years. And that's the real kicker. If you've been on Social Security disability for 24 consecutive months, you're automatically going to be put onto Medicare. You don't have a choice. Now, if you're under 21, that's different. But for most people, in most cases, if you're on Social Security for disability for 2 years, you're automatically going to be put on Medicare. And what's interesting, I'll have people call me up and say, I applied for Social Security disability and I got denied. And then I applied again and got denied. And then I got an attorney and I got approved. But it's been years ago, and all of a sudden I got a Medicare card in the mail. You've had that happen too.
Yep.
So what happens is they go back, as once you get approved, they go back to your first application and approve you, and you get a lump check in most cases and a Medicare card all of a sudden in the mail. And now you're 45 or 55 or 35 years old with Medicare, and you are now eligible for Medicare with Social Security disability.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we have multiple clients in their 30s that are on Medicare already. And if you're on Medicare, you're eligible for all the other Medicare plans that we offer.
Yeah.
So not only can you have original Medicare, but you're eligible for the Medicare Advantage plans. You're eligible for the Medicare supplements, the drug plans, et cetera. So yes, absolutely, you are eligible for all those benefits, just like anyone else on Medicare.
Yeah. You can be on Medicare and Social Security disability.
Yep, perfect. Next question we've got is, what is the difference between Medigap and Medicare? So a Medigap policy is a secondary insurance policy offered through an insurance company to help fill the gaps of some of the gaps of Medicare.
Yeah.
So earlier, the earlier segment, we talked about Medicare and the large gaps of no maximum out of pocket. Right? A Medigap policy can fill those gaps for you. If Medicare is paying 80%, a Medicare supplement or Medigap policy, which are the exact same thing, two terms for the exact same thing, Medigap, Medicare supplement, they pay your remaining 20%. And there are different Medigap policies depending on someone's budget or what their needs are. Some will be more comprehensive. Some will pay the full 20%. Some will pay half of that. Some will have some co-pays. So it will vary. But a Medigap or Medicare supplement still does not fill the other two gaps, which are drug coverage. So you have to have a separate standalone prescription drug plan or PDP. And they still don't cover the dental and vision hearing issue either. And so most of our clients that choose to go with a Medigap policy will need to get a standalone prescription drug plan, and most of them will choose to get a separate dental, vision, hearing package as well to give them that protection. I'm going to take this one step further as well and talk about Medicare Advantage versus Medicare Supplement.
Yeah.
Because a lot of confusion on that. People, even that are on a Medicare Supplement, think it's an advantage and vice versa. So with a Medicare Supplement, you've got original Medicare A and B as your primary insurance. Your red, white, and blue AB card, that's your primary insurance. They're paying first. They don't pay everything, which is why you've got that secondary policy to help fill those specific gaps. Then you've got a separate drug policy, separate dental, vision, hearing. A Medicare Advantage plan combines those into one, or can, depending on what your needs are. But the majority of people choose a plan called an MAPD, or a Medicare Advantage with prescription drug coverage. And that combines your medical. It's not a primary, secondary situation at that point. It is an all-in-one. It becomes your Medicare. The reality of how that works, the federal government realizes they're not as efficient as they would like to be, right? No surprises there for us, right? But the reality is they say, hey, whoever, Humana, United Healthcare, Blue Cross of a certain state, whatever the case is, you're already handling claims. You're doing customer service. You've got relationships with doctors and hospitals and whatever else. Why don't we contract with you and pay you to manage all of Casey Peterson's Medicare? So rather than Medicare trying to administer all that and pay those claims and whatnot, they say, we'll just write a check to such and such company, and that company is now in charge of handling Casey Peterson's Medicare.
And required by that contract to cover everything that Medicare would cover. That's a misnomer. People are like, well, I signed up for a Medicare Advantage plan. Now I'm at the behest of that Medicare Advantage plan company. And at some level you are, but even big brother is big brother. Medicare is definitely over these companies, telling them what they can and can't do and when they can and can't do it. They are all the way down to the commissions that we earn is dictated by the federal government. So they are private insurance companies that have contracted with the federal government, but the federal government is definitely in the driver's seat telling them what they can and can't do.
Correct. I want to touch on a couple of very common questions or concerns. People think they're concerns when they bring them up is, well, I heard from some Joe Blow on YouTube or somewhere else that with a Medicare Advantage plan, I can't see my own doctors. Talk about that, Casey.
Yeah, that drives me crazy.
Right.
It's a fear tactic, Lee. That's what it is. It's a fear tactic. They get told that because they have a family member who is well-intentioned, who hasn't chosen a Medicare Advantage plan, so they are looking for reasons to be negative Nellies. Specifically in most areas where there are Medicare Advantage plans, the network of providers, the doctors, the specialists, the hospitals, the radiology centers, the places that are doing your x-rays and giving you prescriptions, the list is massive. Even in small communities like where we live in a small rural community, there's a massive number of providers that take the plan. So there are 2 or 3 different types of Medicare Advantage plans. You'll have heard these terms before. HMO is one, Health Maintenance Organization, and then PPO, or Preferred Provider Organization. Think of this in 2 ways. Think of 2 circles, one inside the other. With an HMO, you're in the little bit smaller circle, right? You've got to go to doctors and hospitals and providers that take the plan unless it's an emergency. One side note on Medicare Advantage plans, they have worldwide emergency room coverage. Worldwide hospitalization coverage in an emergency. So don't think that you're going to be stuck somewhere on vacation in the United States or out of the country and not have coverage. That's not the case.
Right.
But going back to an HMO, you've got a network of providers. That's called in-network providers. That's really what an HMO is. The insurance companies come to a group of doctors or hospitals and said, hey, for these services, here's how much we're going to pay you. Right? And that's before you ever walk through the door. That's an HMO. On an HMO, you've got to go to doctors that take the plan. It's a massive list. In our community, it's a very small handful of doctors. I mean, I can count them on one hand that don't take the plan. It's a very small number. Then a PPO adds a second, much larger circle that allows you to go to any provider anywhere in the United States that will take Medicare. Anywhere in the United States. You still have that emergency coverage anywhere in the world, anywhere in the United States, but your providers that you're going to see for doctor's visits and specialists and oncology, that list is also massive. So Medicare Advantage plans, when someone tells you that, they're going to restrict you, there is a restriction in that you got to go to doctors that take the plan, if you want to call it that, but the list of doctors that take the plan is massive.
Right.
So I wouldn't use that word, but I get that all the time.
Absolutely.
My friend, told me I can't go see my doctor anymore. Okay, let's look up your doctor. 9 times out of 10,
there they are.
Your doctor's in the network.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Another common question we get is, do I have to have referrals?
In some states, you do. Yeah.
In some areas, yes. A lot of Medicare Advantage plans are really improving. They're stepping up. They're realizing that if we have a plan that has a bunch of red tape and is very difficult to use, people will not enroll in the plan. Brokers will not enroll people in that plan because, again, we want happy clients, right? So if you have headaches all the time, why would we put you on that plan? So sometimes referrals are required. A lot of times we're seeing those go away more and more. But again, driving home the point, it's so important to talk to a broker that can say, this plan does require referrals. This plan does not. Here are those doctors. Look, here's 94% of the doctors in the entire state, part of that HMO network. It's
or
not
100%
a big deal.
of the hospitals.
Or 100% of the hospitals, whatever the case might be. So referrals, not a big deal.
Well, and can I go further just a little bit on that point? People that say, I'm nervous that I can't go to the doctor I want to because I don't want to get a referral. Okay, let's talk about that. If you were to come up with a brand new diagnosis, who's the first person you're going to call? Your primary care doctor you've been seeing for years, that saw your kids, that's seen you, that knows you, that has your chart. Where are you going to get that referral from to go to see a specialist for your kidneys, for your heart? Most times it's going to be from that trusted primary care doctor, whether that's a nurse practitioner or a PA or a doctor. So a lot of people say, well, I don't want to have to choose a doctor that's in the network. Okay, that's fine. Let's make sure that your doctor's in the network, and then know that if it does happen to require referral, which it does in some communities, most times that's not a problem because you're going to go to them anyway.
Right.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. So again, talk to a broker who knows this stuff inside and out rather than you stressing for no reason, right? Don't assume the worst. Come talk to us for 10 minutes and we'll put those worries to bed real quick.
I had a guy call me from Oregon. He's a truck driver yesterday. And I helped his brother, that lives in our town. And he's like, I've been working on this. He quoted 3 or 4 YouTube videos. I've been working on this for weeks. And I heard that you couldn't go and see the doctor you want. And I heard that this, and I heard that. And I said, you know what? How about we back up and let me take 15 minutes and explain your options, not talk about a single company. And this guy's 6 months from retiring. I'm not even going to see him as a client for 6 months, but we spent 15 minutes. And when we got done, he's like, man, I wish I would have called you months ago.
Right.
Not because I'm a genius. That's not the case.
Sure.
But I just have 15 years of experience of explaining this to people, and I can cut through the baloney quickly, as anybody in our office can do.
Yep. The third thing I want to talk about as far as Medicare Advantage and the concern or questions that people come up and ask me often is, well, I heard if I go to a Medicare Advantage plan, I can never go back to a Medicare supplement. Never do anything else. So I want to address that really quickly. So first of all, Medicare understands that people might be a little bit worried to try something new. So whether you're brand new to Medicare, you've been on a Medicare supplement or Medigap policy for years, and you think this Advantage plan looks really attractive, I'd like to try it. You can try it for 12 months with no risk. So Medicare gives you a 12-month guarantee to try that out. It's called Trial Right. And if for some reason you decide, you know what, this is not for me, I like that Medicare supplement better for whatever reason, you can go back to that Medicare supplement, same company, same exact plan, no questions asked.
Anytime in that 12 months.
Anytime during that 12 months. You don't have to wait until the fall enrollment period. You can do that 3 months in if you chose to. I will say this. That being said, it doesn't happen very often, right? We love Medicare supplements. We love Medicare Advantage plans, depending on the situation, the person. Sometimes they're both great. And people ask me all the time, which one's better? Whichever one makes sense for you.
Yeah.
They're both fantastic. Frankly, I wish I could get either one, right? I'm 44. I'm stuck on Obamacare for another 20 years or more, depending on where we're at in 20 years, right? They're both fantastic plans. But going back to my point, you can change back to a Medicare supplement if for some reason something happens. You're like, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't like this. I like the peace of mind of knowing I'll pay more premium, have less copays, whatever the case might be. You do have some flexibility. And some companies, not many, but we know of one in particular that gives you the option, if you've been on their Medicare Advantage plan for more than 2 consecutive years, and for some reason you need to go to a Medicare supplement, and now you've got some major diagnosis or something where it makes sense to go back, they will allow you to go back, no questions asked, to their Medicare supplement specifically. But again, you have flexibility and you have choice. So there's these rumors, I heard this, I heard that make it sound scary. And again,
fear-based.
Talk to us brokers that can navigate this and have the experience to say, well, you might have heard that. There's some truth, but did you know this, this, and this? Oh, no, I didn't. The guy on YouTube didn't talk about that. Well, of course he didn't, right? He doesn't understand the local plans. Again, you talk about the national plans versus the local plans. there are some nuances there that only an educated, certified, and experienced broker is going to know.
Who works in Idaho and Montana and Wyoming and Oregon, and who knows those markets, because the company you're talking about that lets you go into that Medicare supplement plan is not a national company. It is not. It's a regional company. It's a state-based company that isn't going to do it, and other companies don't do it. And we've run into that. People are in the middle of treatment for a very expensive cancer diagnosis, had no idea that was an option for them for year after year, and they come to us and we're like, hey, we can do this. Oh, no, I was told we can't do that because I have cancer. Well, yes, if you're trying to go to XYZ company that's a national company, that's true. But for this company, we have that option. And it goes back to why use a broker.
Yep. 100%.
We just want you to be happy. And this is going to sound a little cold-hearted, but we do better as a business, as an agency, with more happy people. We make more money. We have more referrals. It becomes easier if we make you happy. If we can go out of our way to make you happy and comfortable, we do better. So
a term that we use often in our agency is having a good news appointment, right? So we want to give good news in every appointment. And oftentimes, whether I heard this or that, or I'm coming off an employer plan and I heard Medicare is going to be super expensive or my coverage is going to be as good, we have good news for all those scenarios saying, well, let us give you the accurate truth as to how this works and how much it's going to cost you and how great your coverage is going to be, whatever the case might be. But we often have good news, which again makes this fun. Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, we appreciate it. Hey, thanks for your time today. It's been good. Absolutely. See you guys next time.